G'day, mate. Following podcast might contain adult language and an abundance of salt. So get ready, nerds, because we're talking Mad Max. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us on this episode of the Salty Nerd Podcast, where we do a super deep dive into all of the Mad Max movies. I'm joined, as always, by my fantastic panel of nerds. Matt Vader's here. What's up, dude?
I'm here.
Are you ready for me to talk shit about Thunderdome?
You can talk all the shit you want.
Okay.
You go, man. Why would you talk shit about Thunderdome?
You'll find out.
Okay.
Jude is also here.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for making me my guzzolene.
You're welcome.
The recipe will be on our Discord app.
I love a challenge.
It was, I was like, Jude, can you make me something called guzzolene?
And I was like, fuck yes, I can. Also, I'm not going to have that.
I don't know what's in it, but it's good.
Oh, you're going to be so wasted by the time this episode's over.
He's going to be giving him like self-administered sobriety tests in the kitchen again.
Dude, that the other week. I was like, is there a straight line I can follow? Oh, right here.
He's actually going to turn into an Australian throughout the course of the podcast.
Oh, I wish,
God.
man. Those guys
Challenge
fucking are so
accepted.
cool. Shout out to our Australian club members. Aaron, Gasso. What's up, guys?
We've been watching a lot.
Hosboy.
We've been watching a lot of Aussie movies.
Aussies are dope.
Yeah.
They're good. I can't wait for freaking...
And they're all, the funny thing about these Aussie movies, they're all kind of fucked up.
Oh, they're real messed up.
They're,
Yeah.
they're called Ozploitation films.
Ausploitation
Get
films?
out. Is that really what they're called?
That's the genre.
Is that our
Ozploitation.
thing?
I
We're
dig
into
it. Dude,
Ozploitation?
when you're on like a giant island surrounded by convicts, you just kind of go mad,
Yeah, I
dude.
guess so.
It's funny because the first Mad Max movie was actually the movie that basically launched the Australian film market onto the world stage. Before Mad Max, basically Australia was just making these like weird arty low budget films, and it didn't have like a film industry, and George Miller came along and freaking blew it up with his dystopian look at the future, and America was like, yeah, we want more of this, and it basically launched the Australian film business.
Yeah.
Fun-
America was like, as long as that's not our country, we want more of it.
Fun facts with Matthew Kadish. Welcome, sir. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Excited to talk about these movies, very influential films, and highly uneven throughout the course of 4 of them. So
These movies are bonkers.
Yeah, this is
yeah.
bananas. All right, guys, that's it. Mad Max. So get ready for this wild freaking guzzolene fueled ride. We are going to be right back. I'm going to drink some more of this, and then we're going to get super deep into the first Mad Max movie. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you want to support the podcast and get 4 exclusive podcasts every single month, go to saltynerdclub.com. Join the club membership where a bunch of our Australian friends are hanging out. Shout out to Gasso, Hosboy, and Aaron from Down Under. Those guys are awesome. If you join the club, you can hang out with them, and you get exclusive access to a ton of extra content and our Discord app as well. You get special access to a couple chats in there. We have a ton of fun. Shout out to those guys. We love our club members. And it's a great value. $5 gets you a lot. It goes a long way. So head over to saltynerdclub.com. Join the club membership. All right, the first movie on our list today is Mad Max, starring Mel frickin' Gibson. Take it away, Jude. What is this movie all about?
I want to tell you something.
Please.
All of these were first watch for me.
Nice. Congratulations.
It was a lot.
Welcome to the club.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I thought that Thunderdome was the first one. So when Kadish played the trailer for the first one, I was like, what the fuck is that? He was like, it's Mad
That's
Max.
Mad Max.
And I
The
was
original.
like, are we watching that? He was like, yeah. And I was like, oh shit, I better make a drink. 1979, Mad Max, rated R with a runtime of 1 hour, 28 minutes. This had a budget of $300,000.
Yes, it did.
What do you think this brought into the box office?
I have no idea.
Fair?
No clue.
$2 million.
6 million.
$8.7 million.
Nice.
It's
Good
a
for
hit.
it.
It's a blockbuster.
Yeah.
Well, so an addendum to that, you're not wrong. Just just saying that. So like its initial run, it had a very limited American theatrical release, and most of that money was made in Australia. But over the course of its lifetime, it's made over $100 million.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's a cult movie now.
Oh yeah, and it's spun off into hugely successful movies. There's a cult of people somewhere outside of Vegas that like dress up and do Mad
No,
Max
dude,
shit.
they have Wasteland Weekend here.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's a cult of people who go and play Mad Max.
I want to join because that sounds like a blast.
I have an old.
Sounds cool in theory. I don't want to go.
Oh, I do. So I have an old ass freaking motorcycle in my garage that needs to be like grunged up a little bit, put some spikes on it, and go out there and hang out with those guys.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Shout out to Wasteland Weekends.
Yes. We need to go hang out with those
Yes,
guys.
we do.
We should do a live podcast from there.
I know. That would be great.
With a big, like the dude for the guitar in the fourth movie with the big speakers. That'll
my
just be
God.
us with flamethrowers.
Every time they showed that dude on the guitar, I was like, what the fuck?
The drummers. We got to go back to the first movie. though.
Yeah, first movie. Good.
All right, sir.
Dude, take it away.
In a couple of years, Australia turns into a real shithole, and the streets are covered in hooligans running amok and looting gasoline. Max is a cop who's got it all. A wife he can't say I love you to, a son, somebody named Sprague, and a sweet V8 engine to run down evildoers. Too bad he was driving his family wagon with the shitty fan belt when the toe cutter gang ran his family down. Now the only thing Max has to live for is revenge.
Yes. Is that it?
Yeah.
That's a wonderful
That's
synopsis.
pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. This movie is very simple.
It is.
Yes.
But I'm going to have to admit this, and I'm going to get some hate in the comments. I had no clue what the fuck was going on for at least 45 minutes.
It's a weird
For
movie.
sure.
I was like, I don't know what's happening, but there's a lot of car crashes. Okay,
Everyone
this is
has
cool.
a bonkers name.
Who's that? Oh, that's Toe Cutter.
Oh, like, why do you think that is an intimidating name for a gang? The toe cutter. He's gonna cut my toe.
So here's the thing: is like
Like your walk gets fucking fucked up if they cut your toes off.
No, this movie is very steeped in kind of like Australian culture, and in Australian culture, toe cutter was like a term that they used for internal affairs people
Oh.
in the police station, and so like it was basically like another term for cop killer. In that sense, and so like when they named the character Toe Cutter, they were implying that this is the cop killer.
Like-
Yeah, I like was so confused. The first 45 minutes of this movie is so bonkers. Like there's a couple car chases. There's like some kind of a sleazy lawyer involved at some point.
I was like, are these all the same gang or are there factions of
yeah.
different gangs?
The cop uniform is just like leather and a blue shirt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, all right.
The cop uniform is the car.
Yeah. Here's the thing I've never been able to quite figure out with any of these movies is how far after the apocalypse are we?
It's
You know, because obviously the further along we go, the farther
Well, this-
we are
yeah.
after.
I don't
But-
think we are in full apocalypse yet.
Not in
I
this
think
first
it's just
movie.
getting bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of the things I liked about this movie is like they don't say like in the year 1999 or something
Yeah.
like that.
They're just like a few years from now.
Well, yeah. They say in the not too distant future. But basically, George Miller, the reason that he set the movie in a post-apocalypse is because they didn't have the budget to actually get nice sets, and so like they were
That makes
forced.
sense.
They were
Yeah.
forced to shoot at places that were like really run down
Just on
and
a
stuff.
on a highway.
Yeah.
They're like, nobody's coming. Let's go.
Well, there's like,
Oh no! They shot this whole thing like without permits. Like it was kind of funny because like
Yes.
they would shut down stretches of road so that they could shoot this
Yeah.
stuff. And whenever the police came by, they'd have to like hide what they were doing real quick.
Skedaddle.
And eventually the police caught on to what they were doing. They're like, hey, you guys shooting a movie? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, oh, okay. Can we help? And so like the police eventually like became friends with the production, and they would like help them like redirect traffic.
Oh
and
my
stuff.
God, I love stories like that.
Yeah. That's
yeah,
funny.
that's awesome. Australian police are like, oh, right on, mate. Let's just let's do it.
Dude,
You
the-
guys
the-
in your
the-
stupid fucking Australian accents.
Hey,
my God.
the question, the stories behind the making of this movie are absolutely bonkers because, like, keep in mind in 1979, like there were no like safety standards for any of this stuff. Like this wasn't
Oh.
a professional crew with like union people and experienced people, so they were just kind of making it up as they went along. Like most of the people in this movie got paid with beer.
That's fine.
Because
Oh my
they were like
God.
extras.
That's the most
These
Australian.
are my people.
Yeah, that's the most Australian thing I've ever heard. That's amazing.
I express everything with alcohol. You bought a house? Alcohol.
I mean, the cinematographer for this movie told a story about how like he was on the back of like a motorcycle with the camera, you know, driving, filming a scene next to like Mel Gibson driving the car. And the entire time he was filming that, he's like, I was pretty sure I was going to die,
Yep.
you know, because they were just like shooting it like so fast and loose. And,
Oh, dude,
and-
you guys know how much I love stunt workers,
Yeah.
people who do that kind of stuff. Like this movie, I was watching this and I'm like, that dude didn't have any safety equipment on.
Nope.
He just was like, what do you want me to do? Oh, fly off the motorcycle head 1st? Gotcha.
Flip
Yeah,
around
we're
a couple
good.
of times.
There was one stunt where this motorcycle, I think it was when Mad Max came up behind this gang and like smashed through them and they all kind of fell off. There's this one guy who fell and then his bike slid behind him and hit him in the back of the head.
Oh, God.
And it's all on camera. And I'm like, I think that guy got hurt.
No, mate, we're using that.
The Mad Max movies have a long history of like stunts going horribly wrong and then using them in the movie.
Yeah.
But the
Was it the first one where the guy like flew in the air and flipped around
no,
a bunch of
that was
times?
the second one.
That's the next one.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But in this one, so like for instance, at the beginning when basically the Knight Rider kind of mows into this like blue van, that they did is they removed the engine from it, so it was just like kind of a husk of a shell, so that it was easier for them to kind of push into like the road and originally the car was just supposed to like hit it, and it was gonna like kind of
Push it out of the way.
push it out of the way and keep going.
This thing.
But because the engine was missing, it was missing the weight to keep it grounded, and so it went spinning like a freaking top, and everyone was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, like so many people almost died. I'm watching this
and
movie.
they're like, "Are you getting that? You got that right?"
Were we rolling? Yeah, I was watching this movie, and that exact scene popped up, and it's fairly early in the movie. It's like during that main opening chase scene, and I remember watching it, and I'm like, that van went freaking flying. Like, how fast were they going to smash into that thing?
Fast.
It literally just like tumbles like a top and flies off the road. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Well, the funniest thing was, so like there's a scene where the Knight Rider basically like drives his car into like a tank, and like there's this spectacular explosion, right? And originally, when they were getting ready to shoot it, they strapped like a rocket to the car to drive it into this thing to get the explosion, right? So like no one was in the car. They just had this rocket, and they ignited the rocket to shoot the car into the thing to get the explosion. So they were all set up to do it. And the rocket ignited, and immediately the car like veered off its path, and like they had to like run away from the car until the rocket extinguished itself, and then they're like, okay, maybe we shouldn't do that.
God, do they have that on film somewhere?
The late 70s, early 80s were a wild ride.
Oh yeah, there's
Especially in Australia. So the funny thing about this movie is that George Miller, the writer and director of the film, so he was a emergency room doctor, basically. So like when people came in from, in need of like emergency surgery and stuff like that, he was the guy who did it. In fact, that's how he financed this film, was by taking his salary as an emergency room doctor and just like putting it towards this movie. But he saw so many like horrific like car accident injuries
From the set of this movie.
that like that's what initially inspired him to make this movie. So initially Mad Max was about a post-apocalyptic Earth, in the sense that like, gasoline oil had kind of dried up, and gasoline was like, hard to come by. And so people were getting in all these horrific car accidents. And the character of Max was a journalist who was like traveling around and witnessing all these horrific car crashes and stuff like that, and slowly going insane because of all like the tragedy that he was seeing, and hence Mad Max. And when he brought on some co-writers to help him develop the movie, they were like, yeah, that's kind of a downer, mate. Let's make it more of a exciting thing. And so they turned him into a cop who chases.
He's a tough cop.
Yeah, they turned him into a cop that chases down like these these hooligans. And it was one of those things where they just kept the name of the movie because they were like, well, it rhymes.
That's a good, that's a good damn freaking name. So let's break down the story real quick, because I think honestly, this movie and its story it's actually a tragedy.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a happy-go-lucky movie.
No.
It's not an action 80s movie like we're used to with like Sylvester Stallone, where there's like a happy ending at the end.
Yeah.
This is a tragedy.
Yeah.
So,
Shit's going bad.
yeah. So Max is a cop that lives on the edge of freaking wherever the hell. Nowhere. And
He's got a great house.
he's got a really nice house.
Yeah.
And he's got a wife and a kid. And it's funny because like you're watching this movie, and he's a cop. All the other cops kind of look up to him. He's like the exceptional one. He's the one who's really surprisingly good at his job.
Best,
They're like, hey, mate, we're going to give
chaser.
you a special car.
Well, yeah, he's their best interceptor, and they keep they're constantly afraid that he's going to quit the force, and so they keep trying to bribe him with like better cars to keep him around.
Well, he is quitting the force.
Well, that's what
not quite yet.
he goes through this whole thing, like after the first opening chase scene, which again, I had no idea what was going on in this movie for the first half, but he's going through this chase scene. He's getting like a little loopy. He's getting a little crazy. He feels like, I'm enjoying this too much. It's one of the reasons why he's like, I'm liking this carnage way too much. I need to get away from it. He goes to his sergeant or his boss, whatever, the top
Fifi.
cop. And
His name's Fifi.
Fifi. He shows up at this dude's place. The dude's just wearing leather chaps and a necktie made out of a black scarf with no shirt while he's watering his plants. And he's got this giant mustache. And Max is like, hey, man, I got to quit, man.
It's Australia.
So I'm like, I couldn't help but watch this. And I'm like, what is that dude wearing?
This whole movie, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. The fashion choices throughout all the Mad Max movies are kind of questionable.
That's what
the
makes
next
them
one,
great.
the
That's what
next
makes them great.
Don't even get me started on the freaking Road Warrior movie, dude.
Also, this
What is your problem?
This is such a movie in this frame of time, because like throughout the movie it's established that he has a wife and a child, and throughout the movie like he and his wife are just going places, and I'm like, where the fuck is their kid? And then they just show the kid like in the back of the station
just
wagon
in the back, hanging out.
Yeah, they're like
Well,
having
why else would he be?
a full like day at the beach, and then a picnic, and then they're making love, and then like it's a full day. And I was like, where the hell did they give the kid to, like the auntie or something? Is somebody else watching the kid? Nope, the kid's just in the back of the car.
He's fine.
He's in the fucking trunk. He's fine.
And that car has like the weird like window murals of like space exploration.
Oh my God,
their shaggin'
love
wagon
the
is
car.
dope. I love that thing. Anyway, so he comes to terms with, he's like, I gotta quit the force. I'm liking this carnage too much. I feel like I'm going crazy. So he tells his boss he leaves. His boss bribes him again. He's like, dude, I'll tell you what, man. Take a vacation.
Yeah.
Grow a beard.
Yeah.
And then
Great advice.
when you come back, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
He's like, just take a couple weeks and grow a beard. Like, I love that was the thing. Go grow a beard, dude. You're good.
I want to bring that back.
Yeah, for sure.
You know
So-
what you need?
You need to grow a beard.
You need to grow a beard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
It's
thing.
going
Let
to
it grow
change your whole perspective.
It
will,
does.
it does.
It's going
It
to
does.
change how people see you, and it's
Mm-hmm.
going to change how you see the world.
So anyway, so he goes to his boss. The outfit that his boss is wearing just blew my mind. I couldn't take my eyes off it. I was just like, what is happening right
That's
now?
how you should have.
This is freaking leather chaps.
That's how you should have came into work today.
Leather chaps and no shirt.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would have been hilarious. It's like, oh, look, he's cosplaying.
Let me go get my
he's-
gimp suit.
he's playing
Because I
Fifi.
have leather pants at home that I'm just going to throw
You know,
on
we
real
do have a
quick.
Comic-Con coming up in a couple months. You could cosplay as Fifi.
I would rather cosplay as Mad Max.
Well, no, I'm going to be Fat Max. And you can be Fifi.
Anyway, so he quits. He goes on a nice little vacation with his family. I love those scenes where he's with his wife, he's with his kids.
Well,
he's-
you forgot to mention, so like his best friend on the force, Goose,
Oh, yeah.
is a motorcycle cop, and he gets in a really bad car accident because of the toe cutter gang and gets set on fire.
I can't take the toe cutter gang
And
seriously.
and so like he's got 3rd-degree burns all over his body, and when Max sees him, it freaks him out, and that's what
Yeah.
the impetus for him wanting to,
That's
to
right.
quit.
Yeah, that was a dark scene too, where he's like the toe cutter gang goes and like literally just lights the dude on fire. I didn't
you-
think he would survive.
Do you think that these characters were the inspiration for Top Gun?
Yes,
Okay.
100%. Goose is Goose from Top Gun.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
agree.
and it's kind of interesting because George Miller's style, like he's very much where like he implies a lot of stuff where he doesn't explicitly show it to you, and it's one of those weird Mandela effects where like a lot of people think that the Mad Max movies are like hyper violent, even though like he doesn't really show a lot of the violence, mostly because in the first one he couldn't afford to, but like in subsequent ones, he like kind of cuts away before like something
Yeah.
violent happens, and it leaves it to your imagination to kind of like fill in the lines.
Yeah.
And Max doesn't like willy-nilly murder people. He mostly just punches them.
Yeah.
But there's a scene in this movie where basically the toe cutter gang rolls into this town after the Knight Rider is kind of like boxed up and he's being shipped off to be buried, and they want to intercept his coffin. And during this scene, there's like a local like boy and girl who have like a really nice car, and they try to sneak out of town in order to get away from the gang. And the gang sees the car and they're like, "Oh, that's a nice car." And
Let's go destroy it.
Yeah. So like they run
God damn it, car!
Yeah.
I want you.
they run it down, and then like the next thing we see is basically Max and Goose are alerted to like this is going on, so they go to try to intercept the gang. And when they get there, there's this guy with like just bare ass like running through a field.
Yeah.
And it's implied that like the gang raped the dude as well as the girl, and the kind of like I want to say like henchman, I guess, of Toe Cutter. His name is Johnny the Boy, and he's like just this kind of dude who was like sitting there and like he had just raped either like the guy or the girl, but he was just kind of like, I'm spent, I'm just gonna chill out here. And that's when they arrest him, and Goose sees what he did to like this girl who's like basically despondent, and so like he gets really obsessed with making sure that this guy pays for what he did. And so Johnny the Boy, when he goes to like the police station, his lawyers come, and basically no one shows up to testify against him because they're so afraid of the Toe Cutter gang. And so he gets let loose, and Goose loses his shit and starts attacking him. And then Goose gets suspended, and Johnny the Boy wants to get revenge on him for, arresting him and beating him up. And so Toe Cutter basically like they sabotage his car and get him in a wreck. And then Toe Cutter makes Johnny the Boy burn him alive.
Yeah.
And it's
So
also
rough.
it's also kind of implied that Toe Cutter and Johnny the Boy are like a homosexual couple. and that's why like Toe Cutter shows him so much favorability, even though he's so obviously a fuck up. So like
I didn't get that at all.
yeah, it's very
There's a little
subtle.
bit- there's a
It's
little
very
bit of that.
subtle.
So I'm following Max. Like that makes sense now. But I can see the scenes in my head, and at the time I'm like, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, same.
But having you explain it to me, kind of like, okay, yeah, I can see see the steps.
And in this first movie, basically, like there's no nuclear war yet. What happens is that society is deteriorating because of the lack of fossil fuels, because basically they're running out of gasoline is essentially the thing. And so these roving bands of motorcyclists and kind of like road thugs or like whatever.
Warriors,
Yeah,
if
like-
you will.
Yeah, so like their whole thing is like they don't want to give up their gas guzzlers, and so they're running around trying to confiscate as much gasoline and automobiles as possible because they want to hoard it and make it last as long as it possibly can. And that's negatively affecting just like the normal people. And as society is collapsing, basically the police are under more and more stress to try and do something about it, but they're kind of like pigeon-toed because like they can't do anything about it.
The police are pretty much useless at this
Yeah.
point in society. The gangs, the street gangs, the Toe Cutter gang, and people like them, they're basically taking over society at this point. This is an anarchy society. The cops have no fucking
This
rule
is basically
really to do anything. The society is corrupt, and it's just they do what they do, and that's why Max is frustrated and he's done with it because their world is over.
yeah.
It's done.
This movie is the death knell of civilization,
Yes.
basically.
So it's about anarchy taking over society, and that's basically the over encompassing story of this thing. It's how society crumbles and destroys itself.
And
what happens?
while Max is off with his family, he's kind of like minding his own business. This biker gang shows up and starts terrorizing his family.
Yeah.
And it was a weird like sequence of events where I think his wife was at the beach. Is where
they go to the little resort town.
Yeah.
and
it was just strange to me because I'm watching this movie and she's like at the beach and then she realizes that she's alone, it's dangerous, they're coming after her, so she starts running and then she's
Takes
in
a little nappy poo.
she's in like the forest at some point.
So what happened was when she went down to like the beach to get like her kid an ice cream, the Toe Cutter gang was like sleeping on the beach and they see this like attractive single woman down there and they're like, oh, let's go rape that bitch or like whatever. So they start harassing her and she, in order to get away, she like knees Toe Cutter in the groin. And then when she's driving away, one of them like throws a chain on her car and she takes off so quickly that it literally rips his arm off because like his arm, the chain was wrapped around his arm. And so the Toe Cutter gang looks at that like that woman just, messed up one of our own. We have to go get her. And so they follow her to this like farm where like her and Max are kind of laying low, and then they start
fixing
like,
their fan belt and stuff.
Yeah, and so they start trying to like harass her again, and in doing so they run her over along with like her baby. And basically like both of them die, and Max, his world is shattered.
Yeah.
And he basically becomes the thing that he feared in the beginning, where like he loses all of his humanity. He just goes off and goes to get revenge.
He puts his leather boots back on. I love it when he
pulls the box out.
Yeah, that's the moment, right?
And
That's
it's done.
the John Wick moment that we kind of see these days, where he's like,
I like that comparison.
yeah, like he goes, you know what? I put this thing away. I don't want to do it anymore. But then, the tragedy of losing his entire family, and he's like, all right, that's it. This is who
He's
I
got
am.
nothing else.
Yeah. And
And he's not a cop anymore at that point. Now he's
No,
just
he's-
Now he's a road warrior.
Well, he's a vigilante. He's out for revenge.
well, he
now.
goes and gets that badass freaking black car that they built for him.
yeah.
And he's like, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to get revenge. And they
Special pursuit.
even
His
call him
his
out.
Interceptor, yeah.
If you listen to the radio chatter while he's out, they're like, we have a rogue cop on the run. He stole some equipment. He's out there doing things he's not supposed to be doing. And it's just Max. And he's just like, freaking, I'm going to kill these guys.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because when you contrast him with the two cops that we see at the beginning of the movie, where they like keep fucking up their car and like they can't even like
Just
continue
keep
the
going.
pursuit. Yeah, Max is so much more better at kind of like doing things.
He's actually better without Goose.
A little bit, yeah. Well, he's not reserved anymore.
Yeah.
Like I think when he was
Yeah.
with Goose, he was still trying to follow those rules. now that he's just on his own.
The inhibitions are gone.
Yeah, there's a couple of rules.
There's no rules.
There's some etiquette that they had to follow.
Where we're going,
The fuck outta
we
here.
don't need
These
rules.
No, but it was just
The
like
rules,
he just
the rules were stop these people no matter what. In fact, I probably think they'd probably prefer not to have to bring him in to see a judge at this point because
Maybe.
they're all pieces of shit.
maybe.
Let's just be done with them.
But he goes off on him. I love it when he pulls out that car. I don't even know what type of freaking car it is, but it's dope.
That's such a moment.
There's also a scene in this movie where Max gets shot in the leg.
Oh yeah, he gets jacked up in this movie.
And it's kind of funny because in all the movies that come after this one, Max has this like leg brace, and so like they carry over the fact that he got shot from movie to movie, but like they play it so fast and loose with all the other continuity.
Yeah.
I'm just kinda like, that's a weird choice.
It's a weird thing that they have to go with that.
Even Tom Hardy's Mad Max has
Has
like
a
the
leg brace on it. Yeah. That was kind of cool for me because I was watching this and I'm like, it could very easily have been like he just goes on revenge and he just murders everybody and he's so good at what he does that nobody can touch him. But he's not a Gary Stu. He gets freaking
No, he's
jacked
not.
up.
You know,
I love a movie that's like an action movie or like a post-apocalyptic movie or dystopia movie that like you have your hero that's not invulnerable. It really irritates me when you have like a movie like this that it's like full of action. The hero
Never
is
gets
just like
hurt.
impervious.
Yeah.
But like having your main character and your hero in the story who gets fucked up along the way, it makes you invest so much more.
Yeah.
Because like you're like, oh shit about it.
Yeah.
Whereas like other movies that were like Gunpowder Milkshake, where like nothing fucking happened to her the whole time. You're like, this is fucking boring.
Yeah.
I'm not believing it. But like movies like this, where like your main character actually gets fucked up along the way, it gives you a personal stake.
And then
in it.
even though he gets jacked up, he just freaking wraps that sucker up and
Yeah.
he like crawls
Yeah.
his way back to his car. He goes off and he just continues his mission.
Yeah, you know the thing that I noticed about this movie. I hadn't watched this movie in a few years. Probably been at least a decade since I've watched this movie. I had forgotten how much setup there was for the last 10 minutes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a slow burn.
This whole movie is set up for the last 10 minutes of this movie because Mel Gibson's family doesn't die until
It's
there's
like an hour
about
and 15
15 minutes left of this thing. And then the rest of it's just him,
yeah.
going off and finding these guys, and it's very quick.
So
And you're like, damn.
I this is probably kind of psycho of me, but I love the way he takes out that lawyer dude. Where he like freaking handcuffs his ankle to a burning truck and then like just leaves the match there, walks away.
It's like, this
Is that the original like walk away from an explosion character?
Maybe I'm not sure about that.
Because that's a trope now, but this is 1979. I don't know if that's ever happened before.
And that was go ahead.
I just want to put this movie in a little bit of context for the time in which it was made.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the reasons that this movie got the attention that it did and kind of like brought the Australian film market to the masses is because when this movie came out, nobody had this type of visceral visual style. Like, even though this movie is kind of slow, the parts where like the car chases and the car wrecks and all this other stuff, like nobody was doing that type of thing around this time. Like the two biggest car chases you could point to before Mad Max came out was Steve McQueen's Bullet in the 60s. And then there was the French Connection in the early 70s. And those were like the two car chases in films that like people just like lost their minds over. But car chases are really hard to do before the age of CGI, in the sense that like there were a lot of safety issues, there were logistic issues.
Australia was like, fuck it, we're doing it.
well, that was the thing, is like because this movie was made so fast and loose, like no regulation, no safety standards, nothing like that, they were able to do some like truly spectacular like wrecks and really crazy like car chase stunt work and stuff like that.
Moving forward, they were like, we should not do that anymore.
Well, yeah. So like basically like George Miller's kind of like, almost music video style, like editing where like it was quick cuts. It was like super, like the camera was always moving. Like it was so visceral that it put everything else that was coming out of Hollywood to shame in terms of like what they were doing with the action in this movie. And that's the thing that caught like the attention of Spielberg and all this other stuff. And at the time, Mel Gibson, this was like his first movie. And he got the part because the actor who played Goose was his roommate, and he was cast because like he knew how to ride a motorcycle. It wasn't for his acting ability, and so he was like, "Hey, you got pot from my mate here, Mel." And Mel was actually he was a U.S. citizen, but he grew up in Melbourne, I think, and so like he had the accent and stuff. And when he came in to audition for the part, they were like, "Yeah, this guy looks like a leading man." And so like this was the thing that kind of launched Mel Gibson on the scene. I think he got paid like 10 grand.
He's so freaking cool in this movie, though.
Yeah.
So cool.
It's a great way to introduce him. Man.
I know, right? What were you going to say? You had something going on.
I don't remember.
Okay.
But you know, I have been thinking about this movie. I love how I love the low budgetness of it.
Mm-hmm. Usually you don't.
I normally don't, but man, I feel like this is like a guerrilla made movie. You know,
It really was.
It was.
Yeah, it kind of was.
And,
Yeah.
You know, I know we've watched a lot of really crappy, shitty, low budget movies in the last couple of years.
Excuse me.
But for some reason, this one resonates with me a little bit more. And you know, I discovered this movie after The Road Warrior. I think like most people my age did. We didn't even know this thing existed until after the second movie came out, because that was more of a box office commercial.
Second one was dumb. I can't wait to talk about it.
Whereas this movie is more of it was almost like an underground kind of thing back then.
So
yeah, you want to know like
you know, I remember I had to watch this movie. It was probably on VHS tape. I probably saw it at the.
How I think of this movie is very similar to how I see El Mariachi. Like I watched Desperado first,
Okay.
and I was like, Desperado's freaking dope.
Yes.
That's Road Warrior.
Yeah.
And then I
Yes.
went back and I was like, what is this low budget movie that like El Mariachi? I've never heard of this before. That's Mad Max.
Yeah,
to
I
me.
feel like watching all of these for the first time in 1 week, it was like I could see the progression. And it feels like the first movie is like the first draft.
Mhm.
And then the second movie, they were like, okay, now we have a budget.
And we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the second draft. And then the third movie, they were like, well, it's the fucking 80s. and then Fury Road, they were like, okay, here's a story.
Yeah.
It's cohesive in this universe. And you're like, oh, this is
What they wanted
what
to do.
the first Mad Max should have been.
well, you know how low budget and guerrilla this first Mad Max movie was. So like when they finished shooting it, and again, they had to shoot entirely without permits, without safety standards, without unions. They had to run away from the cops to keep from getting shut down and stuff like that.
Until the cops got on board.
Yeah, until the cops got on board. And they were paying people in beer. And then like when the movie was all shot, they're like, oh, what do we do with it now? and so like they started editing it at this guy's house. And they didn't have any like actual film editing equipment, so they had to build it themselves.
Oh, that's so
in
rebel.
order to actually like edit the movie.
that.
That's so freaking dope, dude.
It's like I love these Australian people who make these movies like this. My brain's immediately going to the
Wormwood.
guys.
Yeah, Wormwood
It's
Apocalypse.
like, man, 'cause
Yeah.
that's a dope fucking movie.
Yeah.
But it was so underground guerrilla style filmmaking. It was just, I love it. It's
I
just-
should have looked it up and I didn't. I kept telling myself to and I just didn't. But what was that movie that we watched for the show? We had Tom with us. So I don't think maybe one of you were here or something, and it was like post-apocalyptic, and they were like the weird like Elvis.
Oh, Six String Samurai.
That's it.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't
that is the movie I kept thinking about every time I was like when I was watching this, and I kept getting flashbacks to this, and I was like, I'm getting such like Six String
Yeah.
Samurai vibes off of this, and
Yeah.
it had that energy.
But if you think about like how crazy the editing in this movie is, like super like quick cuts, like there's scenes like when the Knight Rider kind of wipes out his car at the beginning. There are a couple frames of like his eyes bugging out of his head, like right
Oh,
before the
yeah.
explosion happens.
Yeah.
And those cuts are so quick, and they were doing that on like homemade turntables, like sitting there looking at the film and like splicing it together with tape and shit.
That's so dope, dude.
It's like, I love
That's
these.
awesome.
I love these kind of movies. You know, I mean, I don't like a lot of these kind of movies, also. But starting doing this show, meeting Kadish and everybody, and some other people that we've met, I always wonder how they watch these kind of movies, wondering how
it was made.
how they did some of these wild and crazy things back then. You know, when they didn't have the special effects budgets, and it was just like what's the word, gonzo filmmaking, kind of
guerrilla filmmaking.
you know, that kind of stuff. And it's just, it's interesting. I don't know, is there like a documentary about these that I haven't seen or anything?
There might. I think that there was something that they did for Fury Road that kind of covers a little bit of this stuff, but most of it's from like interviews and commentaries and things of that nature. But it was like a completely different era of filmmaking that a lot of people like kind of don't realize, you know, the context of watching these movies. Cause like, you know, nowadays in 2022, we watch a movie like this and we're just like, okay, like I'm thinking like, oh, this was made when CGI was, you know, a thing, and like, you know, safety standards were a thing, and they planned this stuff out. This was just like, nope, this was a totally different era in which this movie was made.
Let me ask this question really quick before we move on. Is this a movie that we would want to see remade, modernized? You wouldn't want to see.
Well, they did.
I mean, you kind of did that with
They
Fury
already
Road.
did. Yeah,
No,
it's
but
called
like
Fury
go
Road.
back to the beginning, because Fury Road's set way after the apocalypse.
Okay, yeah.
Like, go back to the beginning.
And do the tragedy of losing his family again.
Let's learn about. Would we want to see something like this redone and see what it would look like with modern effects and a budget?
I think
or are we good
unless
with
it
just
was
the low budget stuff?
Unless it was George Miller who did it.
Sure.
I mean, I think I would prefer what they're doing now, which is just keep telling
going.
stories.
Just keep going forward. Yeah.
and-
Because
and-
you know, we always do prequels and shit nowadays. So I kind of wonder if people would be into something
You
like
know,
that.
another interesting thing about this is like, so it was like the most successful independent film ever made up until the Blair Witch Project came out. But when it got a limited release in the United States, the studio that was releasing it was afraid that people couldn't understand the Australian accents. And so like they had it overdubbed. And so the original thing was like not Mel Gibson's voice. None of the characters were like, you know, actually like using their real voice. And then later on, I think when home video kind of became a thing and stuff like that, they went back to the original voice thing. And it was kind of funny because when me and Jude were watching it, we had to put the subtitles on. It was like, we can't understand what they're saying.
Oh yeah, it was real. I didn't have subtitles. I had no clue what the hell was going on. All right, so let's do final thoughts on the original Mad Max, man. Vader. What do you final thoughts? Give it a rating. What would you rate this movie?
Man,
It's gonna be tough because it's
It is.
a
It
damn
is.
good
I
movie.
feel
But
like you have to like rate it in the Mad Max universe.
Oh,
You can't rate it
well,
against other
I mean, you can
things.
go. I mean, these movies are easily going to go 4-2-3-1 for me in that,
Yeah.
in that order.
Yeah.
But that's like judging Star Wars and Star Trek movies. I mean, it's just whatever. It's everybody's going to have a different order. This movie, I don't know what my grade's going to be. I'm just going to put it probably in the middle.
3,
Probably a 2.5.
2.5, 3.
Yeah. The pacing's weird. It's seems like they're trying to tell you a story, but it gets a little convoluted and stuff. You get a little confused about where they're going and what they're trying to do, especially with his family and stuff, and you know, and the cops, when we're trying to learn about the cops. But
Can I give you a little context
Sure.
for 1979 when this came out?
yeah.
Other movies that came out in the same year were Star Trek: The Motion Picture,
Mhm.
The Warriors,
Yeah.
Salem's Lot, Alien,
Oh man.
shit.
Yeah.
You can't compare nothing to that.
Yeah.
Escape from Alcatraz,
Okay.
Apocalypse Now.
Okay.
So these are the
Yeah.
movies that came out in the same year as this.
Yeah, I'm
if
just-
that helps.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I judge movies on emotion and visual, how happy they make my eyes and my ears. And I think I'm just gonna put this right in the middle. I'm gonna go 2.5 because I do think it's a little confusing, and some of the stuff made me scratch my head. But yeah, it was learning about this movie after The Road Warrior it makes it more interesting to me, and it's just kind of like a weird little setup movie.
Yeah, it's an origin story.
But it's cool. It's cool to see where Max came from, you know, and yeah, I don't know what else really to say about it. It's cool. I mean, I like it. Knight Rider's cool. Toe Cutter's cool. You know, but they're weird little.
No, they're not.
They're kind of cool. That's what they're there for. They're assholes. They're anarchists. They're a crazy biker gang, you know, with their crotch rockets, and their bikes suck. They're terrible bikes.
Oh, those no, dude.
but
For
no,
the 70s,
no,
those
dude,
bikes were
oh,
dope.
no, they had Harleys
all
back
those
then.
bikes were donated
Yeah.
to the production. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to use bikes.
Like every time I saw one of those motorcycles, I was like, I could strip that down and turn it into a freaking cafe racer in a heartbeat. That'd be dope.
Yeah, they remind me of all these little biker gangs.
Because I've
running around the
got a
streets right
bike
now.
in my garage, dude, and I want to Road Warrior that shit out, dude.
Let's
Like,
put spikes on it.
yes,
But it's one of my
Will you
favorites.
teach me how to solder?
sure. Yeah. You mean weld? Okay, it's two different things, but that's all right.
Teach me both.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say it's one of my favorite low budget movies.
Okay.
from that era.
Yeah, coming from you, that's a lot though.
Yeah,
because
so,
you do not like low budget movies.
No, I really don't.
All right, cool.
So.
Jude, final thoughts. Give it a rating.
This is a mess.
Okay.
So there are 4 movies in this universe. This is number 4 for
Oh,
sure.
your least favorite? Wow.
Oh
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I saw the trailer and I was like, I'm gonna need a drink, and then 10 minutes in, I was like, I need another drink, and then by the end, I was a lot of drinks in and still was like, what the fuck is happening? It's a great first draft, and it sparked this whole universe, which I appreciate. And so this is like, I just feel like these are completed movies that should have just been like first draft scripts.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is bananas bonkers, which is a term I've never used before. It's not a 1-star crap fest for me.
God.
No.
But the whole, like, I appreciate it more now, like talking about it and knowing like what it like inspired.
Right.
While I was watching it, and it was a first watch for me, while I was watching it, I was like, I have no fucking idea. This movie is like fucking crazy and stupid. I don't know that I get it, but there were parts of it that were like great. So I guess it's probably a 2-star in the Mad Max universe.
Okay.
And it's number 4 in the 4 movies that we're going to talk about.
You like Thunderdome better?
Absolutely.
Oh my God. All right, Kadish,
The
final
fuck is
thoughts.
wrong with you?
Shut up. Final thoughts. Give it a rating.
So I completely agree with my lovely lady here. As a student of film, like I can appreciate the story behind the making of this movie. I can appreciate what it did for the time in which it was made and released. It's a very slow and weird narrative to the story. And honestly, the first 10 minutes and the last 15 minutes are probably the best parts of the movie.
Yeah.
So like that long slog in the middle was just kind of like, it was like, okay, let's get on with it. But for being George Miller's first movie and, you know, him self-financing it and doing all these gonzo things and kind of revolutionizing like how people look at like, you know, action scenes and stuff like that right before like the golden age of the 80s got started. Introducing the world to Mel Gibson and you know, that type of thing. There's a lot of really great things that this movie did, and it's very influential, but in terms of just sheer entertainment, I gotta go with like 2 stars because it is a mess of a narrative. The action scenes are cool, but they're kind of few and far in between. That's like a budget thing. Originally, like they had like way more scenes that they wanted to do, but they just couldn't afford to.
Also, they named their kid Sprague.
Sprague.
What?
That's a dope ass.
That's a great
Should have
name.
used that.
Should have
name.
used it.
Damn it! It's not too late to change it.
Yeah, there were lots of weird names in this movie.
I'm gonna name my next pet Sprague.
Do it, dude.
But the fact
Give him a spike color.
the fact that this movie kind of revolutionized the Australian film market and put them on the world stage and made the Australian government realize it's like, oh, maybe we should try different types of movies.
Maybe we should do more movies.
Yeah. You know, like that was a big deal. And it led directly to our next movie, The Road Warrior, which was even more influential than this one. But this is the type of movie that inspired like Steven Spielberg and made him think like, oh, like maybe, you know, like we can do things a little bit different visually than what, you know, Hollywood, you know, has been doing in the past. And so like it was a big movie for filmmakers.
Picture it. Mad Max, but in the ocean.
Oh, that would be that's Waterworld.
Oh no.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, two solid stars for me.
Okay. I think I like this movie a little bit better than you guys. This is closer to a 3 for me. So I'm going to give it 2.5. You guys know I'm a sucker for stunts.
Yeah.
I'm watching this movie and I'm just like, I don't know how they did it. I don't know how they survived it.
I'm sure those people that were all injured doing stunts for this movie appreciate your 2.5.
None of the people in this movie were stunt performers. It was all like the actors doing this stuff.
Yeah,
that's so
and they
freaking-
for sure aren't moving forward from this movie either.
And the people who did do like the stunt driving and stuff like that, they were just people they found was like, hey, you can drive really good. You want to be in our movie? They're like,
I'm gonna give it a 3 because what did we give?
Can you drive a
Wormwood?
car really fast?
The first Wormwood movie, also in
that's
Australia.
that's like a 4 for me.
Yeah,
that was
I mean,
awesome.
Wormwood was
I would.
great.
Wormwood's great.
Wormwood's my favorite movie of the year.
Has
so
a
far.
better no
Yeah.
shit. Wormwood has a better story structure to it. It makes more sense.
Has zombies.
I was confused by the beginning half of this movie. Like I had no idea what was going on until Kadish like spelled it out for me. I was like, I guess there's a lawyer involved. Some biker gang shit's going on. I don't know. So I was very confused. I think the editing was a little weird. It has a really long, slow period in the middle. I think if you were never seen this movie, watch the whole thing. But if you've seen it before and you're like, well, I really want to watch the first Mad Max because I'm watching, if you're watching the trilogy or something, I would say just pick it up to when the wife runs into the biker gang.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like pick it up there and watch that movie. It's like 45 minutes long. It's awesome.
So
I actually think if you watch the Road Warrior, Thunderdome, and Fury Road, like you wouldn't need this movie. Like you could just watch
not
those
at all.
three.
Yeah.
Or
disagree.
you could also just watch the first 15 minutes and the last 30 of this one.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
And do it like a mini cut.
Yeah.
Because all the shit in the middle, it really doesn't
I
matter.
feel like I'm just agreeing with everything you guys are
Yeah.
saying. Yes, that. Also that.
and that's also why this is a 2.5 for me, because you can cut out all the stuff in the middle. There's an hour of this movie that you really don't need.
You watch the family man lose his family, go crazy, get a freaking black Charger, and go kill people. Like that's the movie. I could watch 45 minutes of it and be good. Anyway, 2.5. All right, guys, that's it for Mad Max. Stay tuned. The next one we're going to do is The Road Warrior. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you guys want to support the podcast and get some awesome swag in return, go to saltynerdstore.com. There you can get access to a ton of awesome t-shirts that we've designed and put out there for your wearing pleasure. And also you get access to our limited time Global Dynamics t-shirt that is still available for a short period of time. And you guys can help us out. We get a little bit of money for every shirt that we sell. Plus you guys can spread the word about the podcast. If you wear an interesting shirt and somebody asks you about it, you can say, hey, I got this from the Salty Nerds. I listened to their podcast. It helps spread the word, helps get people involved in the podcast, and you guys get to wear some really cool stuff. So head over to saltynerdstore.com and grab some swag.
That actually happened to me one day in Target.
Yeah?
I was wearing our Salty Nerd podcast tank top, and I was checking out, and the guy was like, hope you don't mind me asking, because it was like...
Because I was staring at your tits.
Yeah, it's right on my boobs. He was like, I hope you don't mind me asking, but what is that? What's the Salty Nerd podcast? And he was like pointing at my boobs. He's like, what is that? I mean, like, what podcast is that? And I was like, well,
It's
my show. So I went out
funny.
because I always keep some of our stickers in my car. So I went to my car, grabbed some stickers, brought in, and I was like, here you go.
Just tossing them like
Made it
dollar
rain
bills.
in stickers.
Nice.
In
Excellent.
the Target.
All right, the next movie on our list is Mad Max, The Road Warrior. I'm stoked. This was freaking so crazy. This was a bananas movie.
Yes.
Jude, take it away.
1981, Mad Max, Road Warrior. Rated R with a runtime of 1 hour 36 minutes. This had a budget of $4.5 million. What do you think this brought in? And remember, the last one made 8.
Yeah. I'm going to say this made 15 million.
B?
I'm going to go higher. I'm going to say 25. 1981.
$23 million.
Nice job, buddy.
Vader wins a speedboat.
No, I went over.
How many speedboats do you have by now?
3 or 4. I'm not very good at this game.
I'm terrible at this game.
I'm always bad at like trying to figure out, 1982 money versus, today. So,
All right, what's it about?
Ready?
Yep.
Max is back with a bigger budget. And he ain't got no time for warlords. And just had a big old bowl of revenge. After his wife and child were killed, he methodically tracked down and killed all the members of the Knight Rider gang. His V8's been souped up and modified post-apocalyptic style, complete with a special doggy seat for his new pooch in the Pursuit Special. When a sneaky helicopter pilot tries to carjack Max, his burgle gets bungled by the dog's bark and bite, and Max takes him hostage. The hostage tells Max about an oil refinery being held captive by Max's kryptonite warlords. Lord Jason Voorhees and his Channing Tatum sidekick and his band of bikers live their lives 1/4 mile at a time. They've been hoarding the gasoline so they can continue to scoot around the dystopian desert, scavenging and pillaging. First of all, Max hates warlords. And second, he wants that gas for himself. So this is a real 2 birds, 1 stone situation. He watches from a distance for his chance to sneak into the town, and once inside, finds more than he bargained for. There's a chain gang community that needs a champion to liberate them from the tormenting biker gang. The stars couldn't be more aligned. Max loves destroying biker gangs and knows he's the man to emancipate the townsfolk, get himself some sweet, sweet petrol, and set his new hostage bestie up with the all growed up Cindy Lou Who to fly off into the nuclear fallout with. Discuss.
This movie's freaking bananas.
I love this movie.
I loved it.
It's so crazy fun and good. This is everything. The last 20 minutes of the first movie is this whole movie.
Yes.
And it's incredible.
Yes.
It's so fun.
The first movie was like, here's a rough draft. What do you think of this?
Yeah.
And then this movie was like, we took it to 11.
Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah, like after the first movie hit, this was like the biggest budget Australian movie ever made.
Oh, sure.
And they basically said like, hey, George, we want you to make the Mad Max movie you always envisioned. He's like, give me all this money and I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those things where like the original movie got so much traction in the States that like an actual studio came in and gave him like millions of dollars to make this. And this was America's really the first introduction to Mel Gibson. And basically with this movie, they called it The Road Warrior. Everywhere else it's called Mad Max 2, but they called it The Road Warrior because like the release of the first movie was so limited in the States that they were thinking that nobody knew that there was an other Mad Max. And so they renamed it The Road Warrior to make it so that people didn't have to have seen the first one in order to understand what was going on in this one.
But for those who did, we knew where that leg brace came from. And we were like, oh yeah.
Yeah, well, the thing that's cool about this movie is that the first couple minutes, they just set it up because they know nobody watched that first movie.
The opening,
and they insert clips from
the
Mad
original
Max,
movie, yeah.
and they just tell you what's going on. It's like, hey man, the world sucks. Some shit happened, and now we're all fighting over gas with a roving desert.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And they also
gangs
use an
and-
interesting framing device where like there's a narrator who's basically talking at the beginning and end of this movie that's not Max.
Nope.
And he's kind of just talking about
It's
Max.
the feral kid.
Yeah.
The feral kid is the narrator.
That's revealed.
Yeah,
at
it's
the end.
revealed later. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's-
I like movies with narrators. You know, like
It helps it.
like the Wizard from Conan, and, stuff like that. Same kind of thing. He's like,
Yeah,
I'm
I
going
dig
to
it.
tell you a story.
The opening.
This is of this wild, crazy man I met when I was a child.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff.
That's good stuff.
Mhm.
I before, like, I hadn't seen this movie in forever, so I didn't remember much about the narrator or what he said. But at the end of this movie where he was talking about like, and then I went on to become the leader of the Northern Tribe, whatever.
Yeah.
Like for the longest time, I thought for sure that feral kid was Tom Hardy in Fury Road. And I was like, oh, he grew up and he wanted to be just like Max. So he went off and he became just like Max. And he's like the new road warrior. For the longest time, I thought that's what they were doing. And then I rewatched this movie for the podcast and I was like, oh man, my theory was wrong.
Yeah.
I was all bummed out. But I love the opening sequence when they're doing flashback scenes. They showed the scene with the van toppling through the street. They showed all the crazy, the ones where his eyes bug out. They showed that. There was like a nuclear holocaust that happened. It was,
They set it up very well.
yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It's like you absolutely did not have to watch the first movie.
And also, this movie's so influential. It's kind of like when you think of a nuclear post-apocalypse, this is the movie that sets the images in your mind. And this had like a big influence on like the Fallout games.
Oh yeah.
And anytime you see like roving bands in a post-apocalyptic, like roving gangs, like the look of the Marauders in this movie is what inspires it. Like this movie inspired so many knockoffs in the 80s. It was crazy.
Can we real quick just talk about the outfits in this movie?
Yes.
What's wrong with them?
What do you mean? What's wrong with them?
They're incredible.
No.
They're wearing half football uniform padding
For protection.
and assless leather chaps.
So what?
In the desert.
Yeah.
Have any of you guys
what is
seen
your deal?
Weird Science?
Long time ago.
What's going on with this movie?
You know that the biker in this, the Lord, not Lord Jason
Humongous?
Voorhees,
Wes. His name is
Wes.
the dude with the
is-
hockey mask on?
No, the other one.
Oh, the
is,
Mohawk
is
dude.
the biker guy in Weird Science that comes crashing through the glass, and he's reprising this character.
But,
Oh, wow.
But to answer your question, Alex, so like in this world where like there are no like real like, manufacturing bases, like you're not kind of growing herds to like, collect their wool and make clothes. They have to scavenge for stuff to wear. And so like what's going to survive? It's going to be leather and it's going to be like football equipment and stuff like that.
Listen, man.
Made from plastic.
When the apocalypse hasn't, when the apocalypse has, God damn it.
when the apocalypse happens.
When the apocalypse happens,
Yeah.
the first place I'm going is Dick's Sporting Goods. I'm going to Dick's,
Bro.
and I'm buying a fucking bat. I'm getting some badass black shoulder pads,
Dude,
I'm gonna get
listen.
some
You
fucking.
should probably stock up on bats now.
Yeah,
I just have to call out the ridiculous, and then we can get over it and we can move on and talk about how awesome this movie is. But the ridiculous
getting
point
a
of this is
fucking sick-ass
the
mohawk.
main bad guy is wearing leather straps
Yeah.
with a metal crotch
he listens to a lot of Judas Priest. Okay,
and a hockey mask so there's no armor. There's no practical.
He doesn't need armor because he is who he is.
He's Jason Voorhees.
Lord Humongous doesn't need no armor.
Absolutely.
It's ridiculous.
He's going to sit up there on his
And then
thing,
not even-
and he's going to talk into his microphone.
Not even to talk about the idea that gasoline is this like ultra precious thing that everybody needs because there's so little of it, but they're all driving giant freaking V8 vehicles that are completely not aerodynamic.
It doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense
Listen,
whatsoever.
All right, listen.
I just need to put that out there.
You're crazy.
Why?
It's awesome.
Why do you need that?
Because I'm okay with it not making any sense because the movie's so much fun. But if you were really going to break it down and be a salty nerd about it, you're like, none of this shit makes any sense.
It absolutely makes sense because that's just the way it is. I am absolutely going to be running around in fucking shoulder pads after the apocalypse. It's going to happen. It's going to have fucking skulls and metal plates.
Vader's going to be in his
spikes.
assless chaps.
Assless chaps.
Yeah.
Dude, the dude's wearing assless chaps.
Well, whatever.
This guy, as soon
And
as the
he's-
apocalypse hits, this guy's gonna like fucking kick in my front
know
door
what?
and be like, "Give me the wig!"
I'm gonna make you my little blonde wig, little.
Channing Tatum sidekick.
No,
he's gonna come in. He's like, Kanish, I challenge you to home gang. I'm
No.
taking your woman.
I'm gonna make Alex my twink, and he's gonna run around on my bike for me.
Oh my god, I love that so much.
He's like, listen, bitch, you're coming with me.
Get on the back.
And Jude's gonna be fucking running around with a collar around her neck on a chain, and on the other sidecar.
And I'm going to be tossing around boomerangs.
That's right. It's gonna be great.
Katie's just gonna be like standing there, like, "There used to be my woman." I got.
He's gonna be the narrator.
We're gonna be the salty.
Yeah, he'll be the fucking narrator.
It's
and
gonna
be
be
like,
the salty
"Once
nerd
upon
gang
a
of a
time, we had a
wasteland.
life.
God, dude.
And we're gonna live inside Hoover Dam.
We used to just all work together, and then Vader had to come in and dominate the world."
And my hockey mask.
Vader's really hoping for World War III.
Oh my god, he's living for it.
Listen to me.
He hates his job so much. It's what he's living for, honestly.
This movie came out when I was 11, 12 years old.
Oh my
okay?
god, this was formative for you.
It was formative. Oh my god. So I had a bunch of friends. There's probably 15 of us kids that kind of like lived down there, and we all had these weird little like caves and forts and tree houses and shit. And we dressed up like this. We dressed up like warriors of the wasteland, and we had fucking wars. I had a go-kart, guy. I had a go-kart that I wired like pieces of roofing and shit to, and steel and spikes and stuff coming out of it. It was awesome. And we had wars. We led battles on our riverbank of just, and we all played like we were road warriors, and it was amazing. And it was so much fun. And it was just formative. That's a good word for it, and we had shoulder pads and stuff, and it was just a cool movie.
This movie was hugely influential, not just, the way that this movie influenced Hollywood and how action scenes were shot and stuff like that. The whole kind of vision of this post-apocalyptic future basically like set the stage for all of the future dystopian post-apocalyptic stuff to come. Like, it can't be understated how important this movie was, and for the longest time this was the best Mad Max movie, and it was the movie that George Miller and Mel Gibson both felt best embodied the franchise. And it's kind of funny because like if you look at where they shot it, so they shot it out in the middle of the Australian outback, out in the middle of nowhere, but as kind of like hot and dusty as it looks on film, it was actually like super cold when they were shooting it. And the guy who plays Wes, the main, or Wes, the main kind of like henchman in the movie, he's wearing these buttless chaps, and Mel Gibson used to call him.
I'm gonna get you some.
Mel Gibson.
I'm gonna get all of you some.
Okay. Mel Gibson used to call Wes the barometer bum because when his exposed ass turned purple, it was so cold that they had to like stop production.
Oh my God.
So everyone was always looking at the guy's ass, not to look at his ass, but to see like how cold it was getting.
Oh my God.
So that they knew when to take a break.
God dang it. This movie's so ridiculous.
I had a great time with it.
It's a blast.
And this was done without any CGI.
Yeah.
Like, all of this stuff is practical effects.
That's what I love about all these movies.
These
There's not a lot of CGI in them.
The absolutely ludicrous cars and like buggies that they come up with when they're driving around this desert. I'm looking at this stuff and I'm like, it looks like it's held together by freaking bubblegum and shoestring. Like, just like, let's just strap some weird shit to a buggy, put a V8 on it.
And the amount of gasoline wasted.
Oh
in
my
this
gosh,
movie.
like, dude, thank you.
Fossil fuels.
Yeah.
So one of the things I really appreciate about this movie is how well it gets set up. And they do it right from the get-go. You know, some time has passed since the first movie. I don't know. In my head canon, I want to say 5 years.
Well, he's got a gray patch in his hair now.
Yeah.
So it's been a minute.
But the very first scene of this thing is Max hauling ass through the desert, and he's being chased by the gang. You know, and they have the wreck at the truck. But you know some shit's going on, because the first thing he does, he doesn't really care about the guy up there with the gun pointed at him up on top of the hill. He starts saving that gas. He gets a frisbee, a helmet, something, anything that he can find at that wreck.
Yeah, to save
the gasoline that's falling out of that dune buggy that just wrecked. And it was very
it sets
telling,
up how
it sets up the world very well.
Yeah, the interesting thing about George Miller's directing style is he directs these movies like he would a silent film. Like I think Max has a total of like 16 lines in the entire movie. There's not a lot of dialogue in these films. It's all visual storytelling, and a lot of it's just kind of like Vader said, it's like if you're paying attention to the movie, you're understanding what's being communicated to you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I can't get over how freaking cool everything is. It's like these vehicles that they're driving through the desert. One thing I didn't remember about these movies, 'cause it's been a minute since I've seen them, is how little Max actually gets to drive his own car.
Yeah.
Like that actually,
it's very little.
Like the further into the series that we got, I became annoyed. I was like, God damn it, get in the goddamn car and do something cool. Like
gasoline is not very
it's
prevalent.
like he sets up the whole
he does
movie.
not have a full tank.
The whole movie is so set up that he's like, I'm going to do this favor for these people, and I'm going to go, and then they're going to, in return, they're going to give me as much fuel as I can carry. I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to go drive off. He works his way through. He trudges through this movie to accomplish that.
He's even modified his car to have two gas tanks.
Yeah, he's got
gas
tanks in the back. He's like, I've got this set. I know what I'm doing. Here's my mission. The minute he gets in his car and actually accomplishes what he set out to do at the beginning of the movie, 5 minutes later, he gets freaking completely destroyed by this biker gang. Oh, yeah. And I was like, God damn it, man. That's the nice ass car.
I know. There goes the Interceptor. Damn.
Like, shit.
But
it was so frustrating.
I don't know. There's so many iconic just characters and just cool shit in this movie. I mean, even his sidekick, or is he? It's not really a sidekick.
The pilot.
The pilot. The helicopter.
That
dude.
dude's weird.
He's a goofy dude, but just the way
he
was
reminds me
introduced.
of Taggart from Eureka.
Yeah.
He actually. Vader, do you remember when we reviewed Doll Man? He was the floating head in Doll Man.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
This dude's Star Wars episode 3, that dude with the red eyes, and he's like the big tall dude. He walks up to Obi-Wan. That's him.
He was also in Lord of the Rings.
Is
he in Lord of the Rings too?
He's in everything.
Yeah, he's probably one of
goblin.
those. He's probably one of those character type actors, like the guy from Star Trek,
like Doug Jones.
Like Doug Jones.
Yeah,
got that same kind of like tall, lanky, goofy look.
Yeah, you can make him look real weird if you put some alien makeup on him. Yeah, for sure. He's weird, but I love his stupid little helicopter.
Yeah,
that thing.
It's a gyrocopter.
It's just a seat. It's just a seat with a little propeller.
Well, you know why he has that gyrocopter is basically George Miller wanted to do like aerial photography in this movie, and the only way that he could convince the studio to give him a helicopter to film in is saying like, oh well, we have this guy who's flying above the action, and we need to be able to like show him.
Those are some of the best scenes in the movie.
He's like, you know what this movie needs?
A helicopter.
Needs a helicopter.
Yeah, and so like that, he wrote that in specifically so he could convince the studio to pony up money for a helicopter.
Nice, clever, very clever.
In fact, there's a scene where like Mel Gibson is being kind of like airlifted by the gyrocopter back to the oil refinery, and the shots like looking down at Mel Gibson, you can like see like they're like above the ground and it's moving. And I think you know, nowadays they do that on like a green screen or like digital like replacement and stuff like that. But in that day and age, like they literally put Mel Gibson on a board sticking out of a helicopter and just filmed him as he was like hanging off this helicopter.
Yes.
And it looks great.
It looks great.
It looks great.
I love it.
And you can tell it's not CGI, and that's what's cool about it.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is so like we talked about the lack of safety standards in the first Mad Max movie.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this movie was made in like 1982.
80, it was 1980.
This came out in 81.
Yeah.
So it had to
Okay,
have been
so-
filmed
so-
in 80.
So it was filmed in 80. Again, no safety standards whatsoever. And when they were doing the climactic truck flip at the end, when Mad Max is driving this like huge like tanker truck, and it flips over and you know skids and comes to a stop eventually, they were so convinced that the stunt driver was going to be injured that like they made him fast for like 24 hours ahead of time in case he had to be rushed to surgery.
Oh, God.
Prior to the stunt.
Prior to the stunt, like everyone was like, "This guy's gonna die."
So, all right.
But shoot it anyway.
Do it anyway.
Okay, are you cool with this?
But
Are you ready-
George
ready to
Miller,
go?
he's a surgeon. He's an emergency surgeon.
So here's the funny thing. So like they used like 80 cars in this
He
movie.
had his little surgeon's cap on while they were filming.
And so like there were numerous like injuries because of all the stunts they were doing. And because George Miller was a trained physician, he would be the one to patch them up.
Thank you.
That's great.
He's over there filming it.
No.
In fact, there's a very famous stunt that went wrong in this movie.
Oh, which one was it?
Where basically this motorcycle like hits something and the stunt guy goes flying head over heels.
Yeah.
Over the thing and he
it's
actually broke his leg.
cut. He does like
Yeah.
the full body flip several
So,
times.
so he's going 360 degrees. Like you can see like his legs kind of like at a weird angle because like he broke his leg. And they left it in the movie, but that was actually an accident. Like he was not supposed to like go flying like that, but it looked so good on film. They were like, we're gonna keep it in.
We're using that, mate. That's fucking brilliant.
I can see George Miller right now. He's got the camera. He's like, keep rolling, keep rolling, keep rolling.
Yep.
Cut. All right, give me a scalpel. God, that's amazing, man. This movie.
Yeah, I mean, like they played real fast and loose with the safety standards. I think two stuntmen got seriously injured on this movie, and there were like a lot of like little like bang ups.
Shit, what about the flamethrower they had? Remember that? Like they freaking sitting on top of there and they were burning people alive.
They really caught him on fire.
Well, obviously they did, but I'm like, what were the safety standards for that? Just wear a sweatshirt, you'll be fine.
Put some of that fire goop on.
I mean, if you
be
can
all
set
right.
a guy on fire in Samurai Cop, I'm sure like Road Warrior was fine.
Oh man, that's crazy. I think my favorite line in this movie is when Mel Gibson finally sits down. He's like,
2 days ago, I saw a vehicle that had hauled that tanker.
like that when he's just sitting there on the freaking tires and he's just listening to this town of people like panic.
It was like a Quint moment from Jaws where it's like, I'll catch that shock for you.
Yeah, it was. Oh, dude, it was such a good line.
We're
And
gonna need a bigger boat.
I love that accent that he had when he said it. It was just great. It was awesome.
So in the first Mad Max movie, Max actually has a dog. It's a family dog, and you
It's a
kind of
puppy they just got.
You kind of get the sense that that's the same dog in this movie.
No.
Well, I mean, like, so Mad Max has a dog that he's like traveling with.
That thing was like a chocolate lab in the first one, and it's like a healer in this one.
Okay, fine. Jude, do you want to tell them the story about what actually was the story behind that dog?
So for the filming of this one, they needed a dog for the story because it was in the script.
Right.
And so they just went to like a local shelter, like a dog shelter or like a pound.
Yeah.
And they just like took a dog and
One
they
that was
trained,
about to be euthanized.
Yeah, they trained it for the film to do all of the stunts, and then one of the cameramen adopted it at the end of the film.
Oh, the blue healer? That dog is cool looking.
I love that dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was funny because the guy who plays the gyro captain, actually, like, he was the dog's favorite, and so like every time he was on set, the dog would go up and try to play with him and stuff like that. Yeah, and
they didn't even give it a name in the movie. It was just
it
dog.
was just dog, yeah. And it's funny because like Jude wasn't paying the closest of attention when the dog got killed.
Oh no.
And so like she
Thankfully.
she missed all the trauma.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's a great example of like how George Miller doesn't show a lot of violence in his movies, but he implies it. And so like when you see that scene of like the guy with the crossbow like shooting the dog, you never see the dog get hit or die.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, you're just like devastated.
Well,
by
Yeah,
what
it's
you
like,
just
oh my
saw.
God, they killed the dog.
Yeah, when you hear it whimper on off screen, you're
Yeah.
like, oh, they just freaking shot the dog. So there was, speaking of like the violence and stuff, there's another scene early on in this movie where the biker gang does something very similar that they did in the first movie where they like chase down that couple in the car. And it's very heavily implied that poor woman gets freaking brutally raped. And it was like you're watching it, and
there's a lot of rape in the early Mad Max.
Yeah, there is.
Weirdly, you guys aren't as traumatized by it as you are by Outlander.
Don't even say that show's name. Anyway,
Outlander.
Stop it,
Outlander.
Why did you say that name? It was an interesting way that they did it because they didn't outright show it, but they did a lot. Like they didn't go full like Clockwork Orange. Like that was a horrendous scene. Like I do not like that movie because of that scene. But this one, they are like Mad Max on the hill.
Scene really freaks me out.
Yeah, and he's looking with his binoculars, and then the gyro captain dude pulls out this giant like pirate one-eyed binocular thing.
Such a fun trope.
Such a weird. And Mad Max looks up at it.
That's not a telescope. This is a telescope.
That thing's like 6 feet long. Max looks at him, like grabs it, gives him his binoculars, and then uses the thing to watch it. I'm like, it was such a weird like comedic relief to what was happening to what they were watching.
How many movies have used that same gag? I wonder.
I enjoy the fruition of their friendship from like hostage to like besties.
Yeah.
They kind of did that in Bone Tomahawk, where Matthew Fox had like the German.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. I'm so glad you referenced Bone Tomahawk.
I think Johnny Depp did it in one of the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yes,
movie.
with Barbossa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Because Barbossa had a bigger one, and he looked at it and he stole it.
That's
I'm
totally
sure there's other shows
That's
that's been.
weird.
Yeah. That's funny.
You fucking dudes and your long ass telescopes.
It's a penis.
It's a very phallic symbol.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm not into it. I'm just saying it's a trope.
All right, final thoughts. Give it a rating. What's the Road Warrior for you, man?
Already?
Well, yeah. What you haven't been saying shit. What else do you
guys
say?
have been talking a lot.
Go for it, bud. It's all yours.
I mean, it's a great movie. I mean, the stunts are amazing. I love the characters. It was very formative to my youth. It's one of the reasons I picked these movies to watch is because I've been wanting to talk about this movie with you guys for a long time. I feel like I feel like it's an important movie in movie history.
Yeah.
For some reason. I don't know why. It feels like it's up there with like movies of that era that were influential as far as for whatever it is that they do. You know, I keep it up there with like the original kind of Star Wars, you know, how George Lucas broke the mold with movies back then.
Really, you put Road Warrior up there with Star Wars.
It's up there, but it's not like a Star Wars movie. I mean, if it is what it is. There's just so much that's fun about these movies. It's like everything from the fashion to Humongous out there, you know, the shoulder pads and the hockey mask. And I love the vehicles. The vehicles are amazing they're just the hodgepodge way they are thrown together and the goofy little dune buggies and
the
trucks and
gas efficient vehicles ever made.
Yeah, and the stunts are incredible with this thing. You know, it's just, you know, there's just so much about this movie. It's nonstop from the get go, and there's so many cool characters. Even the people in the oil refinery. You know,
I gotta say, I was not annoyed by the kid.
No, the kid's cool. Feral kid.
He doesn't really do much. The only thing he really does is the boomerang trick that one time.
He's got his little tunnel system.
Yeah, and then he buzzes off and just does his own thing.
That also reminded me of Six String Samurai when the kid was just like, "Rah."
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was funny how like the kid kept trying to like stow away with Max, and Max kept kicking him out of his car.
Oh yeah.
I would do the same thing. Screw that feral kid.
You know, it's
I'd rather have a dog.
The last 20 minutes, the big chase scene at the end is absolutely
It's incredible.
bonkers.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, and I like the reveal at the end where basically after the tanker flips over, Mad Max discovers that it was just full of sand and they were just a decoy to allow the other people from the colony to escape. And it was funny when they actually blew up that colony because, you know, in the movie, they basically booby trap the thing so that the marauders can't get the oil. And there's this huge explosion. And the explosion was so big that they had to not only alert the authorities about it, but they had to alert air traffic control to make sure that there was no one flying overhead when it happened.
That's amazing.
Because you could hear this thing and see it for miles.
Could you imagine just trying to take a flight in Australia and being like, Why are we on fire?
like the
Oh,
explosion.
the film in Mad Max Part 2.
The explosion was literally so big that they were afraid people might think that they were under attack.
Oh my
You
god.
know,
That's amazing.
like a nuke went off or something.
Well, this is
They
80s,
were
right?
afraid
There's
it was
like the,
actually the apocalypse.
yeah, for sure.
The gas wars have begun.
The middle of the freaking Cold War. It's the 80s. They all think Russia's going to nuke them. So yeah.
But like if a plane had been overhead when that explosion went off, the shockwave would have like knocked it out of the air.
What the
Yeah.
hell, dude?
That's wild.
That's so cool.
We crashed a plane, but we've got this great movie.
So they just got on the phone and was like, yeah, Gov, just make sure no one's flying overhead.
All right, mate. All right. Did you give it a rating?
I don't
Sorry.
5-star?
No, not a 5-star.
Okay.
I'm really picky with those. You know that.
I know.
I'm gonna go.
I thought this would make the cut, though.
What I give? I'm gonna. I give 2.5. I'm gonna go 3.5. 3.5 stars.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
So-
Jude, final thoughts, give it a
You
rating.
took my score. So I had the most fun with this. This is so we're going to talk about like all three of the original Mad Max with Mel Gibson, and then we're also going to talk about Fury Road. So I don't think that this is the best of the 4 movies that we're going to talk about, but for me, this was the most fun. So for me, this was this is 3.5, just like V, but it's 3.5 sand tankers and blue healers
Nice.
and souped up cars.
Yeah.
Out of 5.
Flipped over tankers.
Flipped over tankers, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a lot of fun. I had a great time watching it. The first one, I almost had PTSD because I was like, this movie's fucking bananas. Why do you like this so much? But now I see like when I watched this, I was starting to see like, okay, this is what it
Should have been.
inspired
Yeah.
and what it produced and what it created and what else is there in the universe. So it had like a weird amount of hope for me because I'd never seen any of these before. I had seen like the only thing I had ever seen in the Mad Max universe was the Thunderdome scene in Beyond Thunderdome.
Okay.
And that's what I thought the first one was. So like watching this for the first time, I was like, this is fucking crazy. I don't get it. And now I was like, oh, I'm starting to get it. So it made a lot of sense for me, and it was so much fun.
Nice. Kate, your final thoughts, give it a rating.
Yeah, so like I can't overstate the importance of this movie. Basically, without this movie, we would have never gotten Terminator, because this movie inspired James Cameron in the sense that like it gave him the clear vision of the future post Judgment Day. And that in turn kind of like informed his writing of the Terminator movie. So this was a huge influence on James Cameron, and that brought us the Terminator film. Also just like visual styles, like George Miller was kind of on the forefront of the music video editing style and just visceral cameras always move in style of action movies. And so like because of him, we have people like, you know, I hate to say it, but like Zack Snyder or something like
Oh
that.
God, let it
nowadays.
go already.
What I'm actually giving like some props here. So
Begrudgingly.
oh yeah, but you know the influence of this film just in pop culture in general has been like, you know, just incredible. Like I said, like you can't think of a nuclear post-apocalypse without thinking of this movie, and it also put Mel Gibson on the radar of Hollywood. And it was because of this movie that he got cast in Lethal Weapon, and that launched his career and all that good stuff. And it's just it's a very seminal film, I think, in Hollywood history, especially like considering it came out at the dawn of like the golden age of 80s cinema and stuff like that, and was so influential. You know, Lord Humongous was definitely an inspiration for Jason Voorhees going forward. You know, because at this time it was just like, you know, the guy who jumped out of the pond at the end of, you know, Friday the 13th, and then Jason Voorhees got the pillow head, and then, you know, eventually the hockey mask. But this was like the precursor to, I mean, Friday the 13th basically ripped that off. And there's a really
Googling furiously right now.
There's a really funny scene where like in the middle of the movie there's like this like montage where like Lord Humongous is giving this like big speech to rally his troops and stuff like that, and you never hear what he's saying. And they knew that they were never going to actually like give him like a speech because they didn't want to write it. So they just gave him this like children's poem to recite. And so like the actor is just like doing this like, you know, like exaggerated movements and stuff like that, where he's like Mary had a little lamb, you know. type thing. So I always thought that was kind of funny. This movie, you know, like the storyline was a lot easier to follow than the first one. And you didn't have to see the first movie in order to appreciate this one. And so, like, you know, me personally, like, for the longest time, this was the best Mad Max movie. And I normally would give it 4 stars, just because of all the influences that it had and all that stuff. But you know, upon rewatching, I'm going to have to drop it down to 3 stars, solid 3 stars, because I just think Fury Road is so much better than this movie. So I'm going to give it 3 barometer bums out of 5.
Okay. Barometer bums.
Purple barometer bums. Say that 3 times fast.
No, I'm not going to do that. So I think for sure this is a 3-star movie. It's a ton of fun. I had a blast watching it. The kid, although he could be annoying sometimes, he was in there so little that it didn't bother me all that much, and he didn't do anything super crazy. I had a ton of fun. I don't get where
That's what this movie is.
I don't get where the whole leather assless chap, like freaking gimp suit thing is coming from with the post-apocalyptic stuff. It seems completely
That's just that
irrational.
one dude.
Listen, when the apocalypse hits, we're all going to need to invest in some assless chaps.
Okay, I guess. I don't know.
It's the outfit of the future.
I mean, we could go a mile
According
out.
to every single dystopian film.
Yeah, you got to keep yourself from getting swamp ass in those hot,
Exactly.
hot outbacks.
Yeah. And also, you need like the leather to protect you from the elements.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense.
All right. That's it for The Road Warrior. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about Beyond Thunderdome. Get ready for that one. All right, guys.
Knowing your hatred of children, I am so anticipating your thoughts on this film.
This movie freaking sucks. All right, we'll be right back. We're going to talk about Thunderdome.
Bye.
Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you guys want to download an awesome mobile game and support the podcast, go to saltynerd.com/DC to download Dragon Champions. And I have a call to action for you folks who have already downloaded it and joined our clan for the Salty Nerd podcast. Get your butt to level 80 and then challenge Matthew Kadish to a one-on-one, because he is the master class Dragon Champions champion. Dragon
Battle
Champions
Royale.
champion. He is the Dragon Champion. Tell people.
Holy shit. He is.
I'm not. I'm just very high level and in a top guild.
I'm not like the best there ever was, but I'm not far from it.
I mean, I am in the top 20 of the arena, so there's that. But yeah, so Dragon Champions, it's a hero collector game. It's kind of in the vein of World of Warcraft. It's kind of like a fantasy style thing. And the goal is to unlock all the different heroes and upgrade them as much as possible, and then use them to go on raids and fight other players and enter tournaments and stuff like that. It's a really fun game. I've been playing it since launch. Can't recommend it enough. It's free to play. If you go to saltynerd.com/DC, that'll take you to where you can download the game. And then if you use our promo code SALTY, you can get a starter pack that has like gold and character shards and a bunch of stuff to get you going. And it also lets the game people know that we sent you, and so we get credit for that, and that helps support the podcast. So if you want to check out a fun game and support the podcast at the same time, check out Dragon Champions.
All right.
Right on.
Beyond Thunderdome.
Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
The most ass backwards Mad Max movie ever. This movie sucks, bro.
I don't know what the fuck is wrong with you.
This movie is terrible.
You have no appreciation for bad movies.
I guess I don't. Jude, take it away. What's it all about?
1985, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, rated PG-13. Runtime of 1 hour 47 minutes. This had a budget of $10 million. What do you think this brought in?
I hope
I'm
it
gonna go with
bombed.
me first.
Please tell me it bombed.
Vader?
$10 million budget?
$10 million.
47 million.
28 million.
Let's split the difference at $36 million.
Okay.
You both win half a speedboat.
Go ahead, take it away.
In a double cross no one saw coming, helicopter bestie stole all of Max's supplies and escaped to Barter Town to blend in and lie low. Max tracks him there, but before he can make contact with his fists, he's recruited by evil Tina Turner, who don't need another hero. She needs a warrior. She's the law of the land, but her nemesis has the power over what powers Bartertown, the underground methane farm. If Max kills the muscle behind the little man, Tina will stock him up with provision treasure. Why are you shaking your head so aggressively?
So stupid. So stupid.
If Max kills the muscle behind the little man, Tina will stock him up with provision treasure, but no one can know she orchestrated it. Max devises a plan to get Blaster into the Thunderdome, where 2 men enter, but only 1 can leave. He defeats Blaster in battle, but hesitates just before delivering the killing blow. Blaster's counterpart, Master, runs into the dome to plead for mercy, and Max reveals his scheme with ETT, which places him in a new predicament. Bust a deal, face the wheel. When the wheel of misfortune decrees that Max will face the gulag, he's exiled to the wasteland, where he's found by a young woman. She brings him back to the oasis of abandoned children, thinking he's the foretold savior, Captain Walker, come to take them home. When he tells them there's no home to go to, they go out into the desert themselves to look for civilization in defiance. Knowing the naive kids will only find brutality and hardship if they reach Bartertown, he follows them and ends up in the crossfire of Evil T's grab for power. When he happens across his old bestie, he leverages the unsettled score he has to get Bestie to give the kids a Red Baron ride to safety and keep them out of the clutches of Evil Turner and her horde of doll head-wearing minions. Discuss. What is with those fucking doll heads?
I don't know.
What's wrong?
This movie sucks. It's
Why?
not. It's the worst Mad Max movie ever. It's not even. I
do
struggle.
not disagree,
I struggle
but
to
I
call
understand how you feel.
I struggle to call it a Mad Max movie.
I feel like this was like, we're going to make Tina Turner a movie star.
Well, that's what it was.
Yeah. And they had just like the rights to Mad Max. So they were like, we're going to build this around that.
So the story behind the making of this movie is that George Miller wanted to make a Lord of the Flies movie.
Okay.
And nobody would give him money to do that. And so he's like, what if we put Mad Max in it? And they're like, okay, we'll give you some money to do that.
We're listening.
Yeah. And so like the whole thing with like the kids and like the Oasis and stuff like that was his like post-apocalyptic Lord of the Flies movie that he really wanted to do, kind of wrapped in a Mad Max kind of box, I guess you could say.
It was a mistake. It was a misuse of Mad Max.
Alex, have you ever read or watched Lord of the Flies?
The only part of that movie I've seen is when the rock falls on the fat kid's head.
Okay.
That's,
Just curious.
That's all I've seen. I don't think I'd be into that movie.
Well, you know, it was funny because when they made The Road Warrior, that was originally supposed to be the last Mad Max movie, because Mad Max had his arc where in the first movie he lost his humanity and he became the thing that he always fought against. And then in the Road Warrior, he regained his humanity by helping these people survive the onslaught of the marauders. And so like that was like his complete character arc, where it was like, okay, Mad Max is now like a thing of legend, and you know, like his story survives, and like this is the end of his story. And then when they brought him back for Thunderdome, they were just kind of like, what do we do with him? I don't know. So
I mean, he's still alive.
yeah, he's still alive.
So
He's still a badass.
let's have a new story.
It's so stupid.
The only part of this that I actually enjoy is the Thunderdome part.
And that's the thing that's kind of permeated pop culture the most from these Mad Max films is like, you know, everyone knows 2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
Well, that's what they
Right.
named the fucking movie.
Yeah. The whole setup to this movie is why did his buddy from the last movie come and betray him? Or is it a different character?
That's actually, I feel like it was supposed to be the same character,
No.
but it wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So-
basically it's the same actors.
Right.
But it's a completely different character.
But he's also just happens to be like an aviation
Right.
type
Well,
character.
now he has a name in this one. His name is Jedediah.
Yeah, the funny thing about these Mad Max movies, especially the ones with Mel Gibson in them, is like there's very little continuity between like all 3 of them.
Facts.
And so like George Miller just enjoyed working with these actors, and so like he just cast them in basically the same role, but they were like completely different
Yeah,
characters.
he's like, listen, I'm having a great time. Let's just keep
Well,
going.
Mad Max is still Mad Max. Like Mel Gibson's character's, he's still Mad
Still
Max.
Max
but he just,
Rostowski.
like he has camels now instead of a freaking dope
Well, it's
car.
because he's out of gas. There's
It's
no gas.
so stupid.
well, they stole his car. That like he went
Yeah.
to Bartertown in
Yeah.
order to get his car back. That was like the
Yeah.
whole reason for being there.
Didn't he have not donkeys, camels though?
Camels.
There was something to do with camels.
Yeah, the camels
he
were-
knew that Jedediah had camels with him or something.
Okay.
Well, Jedediah is the one who stole his car and sold it at Bartertown.
The
And so, like,
car
he-
was being pulled by the camels at the beginning of the movie.
Oh.
Fly Guy came along, hijacked the camels and the
Fly
cart,
Guy.
took it to Bartertown and traded it.
Thank you.
Mad Max went to get his shit back, and he had to say, I want my stuff back. Well, you got nothing to trade.
Mm-hmm. I've got me. Yeah,
but I got me. I can
skills,
work.
you know?
So then he goes up.
I feel like your brain just rebooted.
And we go from there.
He's defending his movie.
His job was to kill Master Blaster and anti-entity. We would give him his shit back plus all the stuff he could carry. That's the movie. And then we go to Lord of the Flies, and it gets really fucking dumb.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, but the first 45 minutes of this movie is great.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not into it, dude.
Yeah.
I don't care about.
It's a Mad Max movie until he goes out in the desert with the stupid helmet on his head.
Until the gulag. Yeah.
Yeah.
The gulag.
Vader, do you remember when this movie came out? Everything about the marketing of this movie was centered around Tina Turner.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because like Mel Gibson was like coming off of like Lethal Weapon, but everyone was just like, oh, Tina Turner's in this movie. And it's like her film debut, and she did a song for the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And
the song was
She
huge.
did 2 songs, I think.
Yeah, there's one at the beginning and one at the end, I think, right? Yeah. I didn't like Tina Turner in this movie. She completely took me out of it. Or like her weird little freaking castle in the sky with her ridiculous chainmail football helmeted thing. Like,
what's wrong with that?
It was stupid.
It's what else was she supposed to wear?
Like, why is she? I created Buttertown, but I lost it. I lost control to some freaking double dude down
because double dude, double dude, it's fucking Master Blaster.
Whatever.
you got Master and you got Blaster.
Yeah,
sure.
You got the brawn and you got the brains.
Do you want? Can we even talk about that scene where the knock the helmet off of freaking Blaster?
Yeah, he's
it's an iconic scene.
He's a giant.
He's got Down syndrome.
Careful.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if we're supposed to talk about that, but like,
why we can't talk about somebody's handicap?
No, I just don't know. Like, I've never seen that part of the movie before. And like when that happened, I was like, "Oh Jesus!" That was weird.
Well, yeah, and that's what gives Max pause, because then suddenly Master runs in, who really was the duplicitous one, who was like, "I've been using this poor kid to be my muscle," and he hasn't even known like really what he was in for. The kid is fucking smiling.
He's smiling. He's like having a good time.
He thinks he's playing a game.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And like he doesn't even realize we're in a death match right now.
Yeah, that was.
I think he realized exactly what he was doing.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know. It weirded me out. Like, I was not expecting that.
Well, Master said that he has the mind of a child,
right?
And you could tell that the guy wasn't fully aware of what was happening once like the helmet came off. So it was, you know, I can remember watching that as a kid for the first time and just being like really shocked at like what he looked like, because you think because of that helmet that he's just like this monster.
Yeah, you think of him as a monster, and then when the helmet comes off, you see him as how he is, and it gives you a whole different like, oh shit, now I feel weird about that.
Yeah, I did feel very uncomfortable and weird about that whole scene after that. And I was like, oh God, I can't, like, it just threw me off. I didn't like that. It was really weird. I also didn't like the whole pig shit thing. They're like, what is Bartertown ran on?
Bullshit. Pig shit. What? Pig shit.
Pig shit.
Pig shit. Bullshit. No, pig shit. It's just like, what?
I got no issue with that.
Bullshit. Who shit? You shit. Pig shit.
What are they feeding these pigs?
Grain? Whatever.
What grain? There's nothing alive.
They're feeding them whatever.
That's what I'm saying. What is feeding the pigs? It's other people. They're feeding the pigs people.
Cool.
And then they shit the shit out. And then they get the methane off of that, and then
you're not allowed to kill the pigs.
That bothers you?
It's
so what's
weird
everyone
and
else
stupid.
eating?
It's an apocalypse. Who the fuck knows what's going on in the apocalypse? There's all kinds of weird shit going on.
But in order to like collect the methane, they would have to have some kind of a distillery system.
They do.
No, they don't. It was all just open pits of shit.
They were moving stuff on conveyor belts and putting them in the distillery things, and there was gas things. There's pipes and shit. What difference does it make? It just, you know.
It's
use your brain.
No,
and
no. Don't tell me to use my brain for this movie, dude.
Suspend your fucking your sense of reality sometimes.
I just want to I just really want to reenact this whole thing that you guys are discussing. They're doing
the pig shit.
There's a methane lab down there.
Listen, dude.
Use your brain.
I could suspend my disbelief and believe that these people are driving around in giant V8 rigs that suck fuel down when fuel is like the most precious thing. I'm like, okay, whatever. I get it. Fine. But now they got freaking a farm of pigs creating methane gas so that they can power something. What are they powering? There's nothing there that they
Shit
need to
makes
power.
nothing.
The sign that says Thunderdome?
Yeah.
That's all they needed the power for.
There's lights up there. There's
they had electricity in
there's
Barbertown.
ovens and lights and fans and
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole scene where Master shuts down like all the methane production,
Yeah.
and the entire city just
That's how
like goes to a
It's
standstill.
like embargo on. Whoop, Master. and that's the whole thing. Is
Who runs
who controls the power controls the town.
No,
And
I get that. Yeah, that's fine. Tina Turner's mad that
Yeah.
the little guy has more power than her. I get it. I just think
it's her town, and he's like lords it over it. That he's the one that's the really controlling things.
Did you know that Tina Turner had to shave her head for this movie?
That was a wig.
Yeah, to make her wig
man.
fit.
Poor
She had no
girl.
problem doing that. though.
Yeah, she was like, whatever, give me the wig.
But you know what's interesting about this movie, and so like I think it was agreed that like pretty much unanimously that this is the least good Mad Max movie. And there's a story behind why this is. And so like after the Road Warrior hit, George Miller was kind of getting into TV, and he was trying to develop a Mad Max TV show. And it got really close to getting made, but the guy that they were going to use as the star of it to play Mad Max died in a horrific motorcycle accident.
Oh.
And then they decided like,
That tracks.
well, I don't want to make this without this guy, so let's make this movie. And when they were filming location or scouting locations for this film, George Miller's longtime production partner, a guy by the name of Byron Kennedy, died in a horrific helicopter accident. And so like George Miller was kind of dealing with like these two deaths in like quick succession with one
What
another.
kind of juju is going on the set? Do they need some sage?
And so like he was in the middle of doing this this TV miniseries in Australia with this other guy named George Ogilvy, something
Sure.
like that. And because of like the 1-2 punch of these deaths, he was just like not in a good mental space. And he asked this guy, George, who he was working on this miniseries with, to come in and co-direct this movie with him. And so George Miller not being fully invested in the movie because of dealing with his grief and the fact that this is the only Mad Max movie that George Miller hasn't fully directed, he co-directed it, kind of lends to the idea that this movie, like has its flaws. Like it wasn't like the best foot forward that George Miller could have made for a Mad Max film.
They never really did any Mad Max shit in this movie until the very end. Then it was on a train, which was super lame because it's just going in one direction.
By that point, you're kind of checked out.
Yeah, I'm super checked out.
Yeah.
I seriously, like when the freaking Peter Pan and the Lost Boys showed up in this
Yes.
movie, I lost it. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I checked out. And by the time, like you said, by the time the chase comes up, I was just like, gone.
Yeah, and it was so weird because what are you doing?
He just okay. The irony
look where it is from.
the irony that this website is called The Salt, and it says big companies bet on cleaner power from pig poop.
Where did you find that?
I don't know. You gotta send me a link to that so I can
Oh
put
my
it.
god.
He just fact checked me.
Go fuck yourself.
Vader's on the dark web right now, just like fucking fact checking.
Can you make energy from pig shit?
This
The
movie
guy's-
is real.
The guy's got a barn back there. Master Blaster's in the barn.
All right.
I don't-
I give up. I give up.
I don't
It
trust
works.
the press.
Thesalt.com.
Salt.com. That's amazing.
I forget everything I had in my brain.
That's all right.
It's all just gone.
So, what was going on with the Peter Pan? I seriously did check out. Like, I had no idea what was going on. They thought he was a prophet. They thought he was
No,
Jesus.
Do I need
So-
to tell you that story too?
Yeah, kind
Okay,
of.
so there was like a plane full of people that crash landed wherever they are, and they found this little oasis. They dropped off the kids and they were like, we're going to go and try to find civilization. None of them made it back. Captain Walker was the pilot, and he left a message saying like, this is our history. This is what we're trying to do. We'll come back to take you guys home, to rescue you. Well, that never happens because it's the apocalypse.
Yeah, and
So
they-
all of these kids have kind of raised themselves waiting for Captain Walker, the savior, to come back.
And no one has ever made it that far into the wasteland until Mel Gibson, and they think that he's Captain Walker, and so they bring him back, and they're waiting for him to kind of lead them to the promised land, Neverland, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a really weird tangent that this movie went on.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
Super weird. It was very Lord of the Flies.
I got more Peter Pan.
And Peter Pan. Yeah,
Yeah.
like for sure. Like it was Lord of the Flies without the killing each other, but very little Lost Boys.
This is also the only Mad Max film where the villain basically survives at the end and gets the best of Max. Because Tina Turner, basically, she returns to Bartertown and she's not overthrown.
Yeah,
like,
she's just like, what a pair we make. Ha ha,
and-
see you later.
And she spares him because like she's already defeated him, and it's just kind of like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And this was meant to be the last Mad Max movie.
So I'll see you in the
well.
sequel.
It was for a long time.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. All right. Final thoughts on Thunderdome, Vader.
I feel like we've only gotten halfway through the movie. But
Did you want to keep talking about it?
what?
What do you want? What else do you want to talk
Well,
about?
there's the big chase scene at the end.
It was shit.
Well,
It was.
that's been
Okay,
discussed.
I give it a 3.
It was nothing compared to the Road Warrior
All right.
chase scenes.
I
Right?
give-
Did you like
Are
it?
you yucking his yum right now?
Absolutely. What did you like about it?
It was just as good as almost as the second scene, except they were chasing a train.
Can you guys hang on a second while I construct a Thunderdome to throw you two in?
Let's go.
I'd fuck you up so hard.
Oh, don't even, dude.
He's gonna make you his hand puppet.
Take about 30 seconds.
I
You
can't.
both have to wear
No,
assless
I
chaps.
feel like
Here are the rules. I'm Tina Turner. I make the rules.
I feel like we get to the kids scene. The kids suck, and that's the end of the movie. What's your score? 3. My score's a 3. After the chase scene, and they all take off and go to Never Land in the plane. So okay,
What'd you think of the train?
that was kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why are you so upset with me?
I'm
for
not
saying-
upset. I'm not upset with anybody. We're
Okay.
good.
He's having a stroke.
Dude.
He's had a lot of different emotions today. I think he's rebooting and like his program is going through all of the different settings.
Okay. You good?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Jude, final thoughts. Give it a rating.
This is the only movie that I had any kind of knowledge of. So I thought that the whole movie was going to be about the Thunderdome.
Mm.
It wasn't. It's very weird.
It is.
God, I didn't hate it, but I was also like, this movie doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's like 2 different movies. So I will never watch it again. I am not upset that I had never watched it before. So that being said, like I don't hate it, but also it's not very good. And so I guess I'm gonna give it a 2.5. Nonsensical train rides out of
Okay.
5.
Kadish, final thoughts. Give it a rating.
So I have a little bit of nostalgia for this movie, but I think Vader's pretty spot on where he basically says like, you know, the first third of this movie, which takes place in Border Town, is good.
Yeah.
You know, the Thunderdome stuff is good. And then like the final kind of chase at the end is good. All the stuff with the kids and the, you know, kind of like Lost Boys type
It's just
thing.
weird.
It's weird.
It derails the movie. Like it slows down to a crawl at that point. It takes a while to get back going again. And when it does get going again, it's kind of like a rehash of the end of the second movie. Like I feel like the train chase versus like the tanker chase, it's basically the exact same thing. And the characters at the end, you know, the villains aren't as iconic as they were in the Road Warrior. So to me, like the movie really ends as soon as like Max gets banished into the gulag. Up to that point, I'm having a really good time with the movie. And then afterwards, it's kind of like, eh. So I have to basically agree with everyone else that this is, you know, a lesser rating. And I'm going to go with like, I guess, 2 Thunderdomes out of 5.
I like it.
This is a 1-star crap fest.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't like any of it. I didn't like Mad Max showing up at Bartertown. I didn't care about Bartertown. I'm like, get back on the road and go do some cool ass shit. That's what I wanted to see. Like I could see him like, okay, we're in Thunderdome. He fights Master Blaster, and then he like escapes and runs away and gets back in his car, and then Tina Turner's mad at him for some reason, so they chase after. Like, I mean,
That would have been a good
that would have
movie.
been a good movie, but that never happened.
Yeah.
And it was just like they spent way too much time in Bartertown. Thunderdome had some potential, but I just thought it was done really, really strange and goofy, and I did not like the reveal of what, Blaster. Is it? Yeah, Blaster, the big dude.
Yeah,
I didn't like that reveal. I thought it was cringy and weird, and I was like, don't do that.
okay.
So yeah, I don't recommend this movie. Like, watch the first two, and Thunderdome doesn't exist. Tina Turner's terrible and cringy. Her outfit is ridiculous. Her hair is ridiculous. I'm not like, okay.
You're crazy.
You look at like,
she's perfectly fits the role.
oh, she good. Yes.
She's 80 years old here.
Goddamn.
I'm not kidding.
That's a lot of Photoshop.
Tina Turner in 2020 at 80 years old looks like J-Lo.
Like, if you look at the other two villains, you know, the biker gang from the first movie, like, don't mess with those
chaps and shoulder pads are too much, but Tina Turner having some shoulder pads with chainmail on it's too weird for you?
No, I wasn't like, I didn't see her as a bad guy in this movie. It was just a weird choice, especially compared to the other two guys we got in the first two movies.
I thought she was okay.
The biker gang was creepy and scary. Like, you don't mess with those guys, they're gonna freaking kill you. The second one, like, yeah, the outfits were super strange, but those dudes would have straight up killed you. Like, Tina Turner was not intimidating to me in her freaking little high castle with her chainmail. I was just like, okay, this is just dumb. Sorry, I just didn't like it, man. I'm going to get a bunch of hate in the comments. I know I'm going to get a bunch of hate in the comments, but this movie is a 1-star crap fest. This thing sucks. I didn't like any of it.
Well, you're wrong, but
okay,
that's
all right, that's fair. Fine, whatever. We're all entitled to our opinion. Did you have a favorite moment? What's your favorite moment?
Probably the Thunderdome stuff.
Yeah.
When they're actually
is that everybody?
in the Thunderdome.
Yeah.
The fight's cool until they get to the cringy part, I guess, because...
Well, it's just me. I'm not, if you didn't find it cringy, that's fine.
It didn't bother me at all.
Okay, fine. That's fine. Do you have a favorite moment in this movie? Is it the Thunderdome?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I liked like Vader. Like, I liked the first part, and up until he gets gulagged, I even liked that part. And I felt like it was clear, like, the helicopter friend was the one that sent the monkey to give him the water to keep him alive because he felt bad. I was interested in that, and then it all just kind of like dissipated, and then we were like focusing on these kids, which was weird.
Mm-hmm.
The whole movie I enjoyed, except for everything with the kids. It didn't make sense.
I'm going to get a chalkboard that says kids suck. And every time we watch a movie that has kids in it that sucks, I'm just put another mark behind me. That's going to be my background.
I like that. I have a huge chalkboard in the garage.
Perfect.
Did that monkey die like 9 times in this movie?
I forgot that there was a monkey in this movie.
I feel like the monkey should have died like 5 or 6 times.
Probably.
And then it just kept showing back up.
Yeah. Wasn't there like a prank? Never mind. I don't know. Kadish, did you have a favorite moment?
The Thunderdome.
Okay.
Yeah, like this whole movie is just based around the Thunderdome.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing anyone actually remembers from this film. So
yeah.
Accurate.
That's what the film is named.
All right, guys, that's it for the Mad Max trilogy. Thank you guys for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Let us know what you think. What's your favorite Mad Max movie? Comment below. And if you're not already, hit the subscribe button. And don't forget, we are available on audio only. So if you go to Spotify or Apple iTunes, you can listen to this podcast in audio version if you don't want to have to watch the video, or if you're doing it while you're driving or something. So check out our other platforms.
Drive safe.
And drive safe. Yeah, we are out there, and we're on all the audio platforms. So check it out. And Vader, where can they find you on the socials, bro?
You can find me at MattVader74 on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere else, I think. And here on Saturday mornings as we talk about Star Trek or whatever the show of the week is that we're talking about.
Okay, cool. Jude?
You can find me at I am Jude Juju on Instagram and on TikTok. And we're also available on Discord. If you want to download the Discord app, we're always in there. We're chatting daily about movies. There's a bunch of different servers that we have like different topics we're talking about. We also do a trivia once a month for our club members through Discord at saltynerddiscord.com.
Nice. Matthew Kadish.
You can find me at Matthew Kadish, Kadish on Twitter. Kadishbooks.com takes you to my Amazon page. And if you go to saltynerd.com/rate, RATE, that'll help you to find our page on Apple Podcasts where you can leave us a 5-star rating. We're trying to get 200 5-star ratings so we can be officially accredited as movie reviewers on Rotten Tomatoes. So if you can hop on over there, or have a friend who has an Apple device, hop on over there and give us 5 stars. You don't have to leave us a review, just a rating will work out. We'd really appreciate it and help support the show.
All right, everybody, have a great day. We'll catch you guys next week. And as always, stay salty, my friends.